I was standing in front of my bedroom mirror adjusting my wedding dress for what felt like the 100th time that morning. My heart was racing with excitement and nerves as I smoothed down the delicate lace sleeves. Today was supposed to be the most important day of my life, the day I had dreamed about since I was a little girl. Mom had promised she would come early to help me get ready to share those precious moments before I walked down the aisle. But as I reached for my phone to check the time, a message notification popped up that made my stomach drop. It was from Mom, sent at 7 in the morning on my wedding day. Before I continue with this story, please let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss other real-life stories. Because what happened next will make you question everything about family loyalty. Growing up, I always knew Madison was the golden child. She was 3 years younger than me, blessed with stunning looks and a charm that could melt anyone's heart. While I, Sabrina, was the responsible older sister who got good grades and never caused trouble, Madison was the one who got away with everything. Our parents, especially Mom, always found excuses for her behavior. When Madison wanted my bigger bedroom when she turned 16, I was told to be the mature one and give it up. When she crashed Dad's car during her senior year, it was just an accident, and they bought her a newer one. Meanwhile, I worked part-time jobs throughout college to help pay for my tuition, while Madison's education was fully funded without question. I always held on to hope that someday when it really mattered, I would be the priority. That hope grew stronger when I got engaged to Tyler, a wonderful engineer who treated me like a queen. His family welcomed me with open arms, constantly asking about wedding plans and offering to help in any way they could. My own family's reaction was lukewarm at best. Mom spent most conversations comparing my modest wedding plans to what she imagined Madison's future wedding would look like. "Madison will probably want something much more elaborate than this," she would say while looking through my venue photos. "She has always had such expensive tastes." Dad was primarily concerned about money. Every time I mentioned any detail about the wedding, his first response was about the cost. "Do you really need those flowers? They seem awfully pricey for something people will forget about in a week." I found myself handling most of the planning alone, coordinating with vendors, choosing decorations, and managing every detail. All I really wanted was for my family to be there to support me on the most important day of my life. The warning signs started appearing the week before my wedding. Madison casually mentioned during a family dinner that she had a crucial job interview scheduled for the same day as my wedding. It was for a position at a prestigious marketing firm that she had been wanting for months. Mom immediately went into protective mode. "Oh, sweetheart, that's such an important opportunity for your career. You must be so nervous." When I pointed out that it was just an interview and could potentially be rescheduled, Mom gave me a look that suggested I was being unreasonable. "Sabrina, you know how competitive the job market is. Madison needs our support during this stressful time." I tried to stay calm and rational. "Mom, it's my wedding day. Can't the family focus on that for just one day?" But even as the words left my mouth, I could see the familiar pattern emerging. Madison's needs were always going to come first, no matter what else was happening. Mom promised she would figure everything out, that both events would work perfectly fine, but her tone carried that familiar uncertainty that I had learned to recognize over the years. Then came that text message on my wedding morning at 7 a.m. "Sweetheart, I have an emergency with Madison. I cannot make it over to help you get ready this morning. She is having a panic attack about her interview and needs me here." I stared at my phone in disbelief. This was the woman who had promised to be by my side to help me with my hair and makeup, to share those intimate mother-daughter moments before I became a wife. Instead, she was choosing to comfort Madison over a job interview. I called her immediately, hoping there had been some misunderstanding. "Mom, you promised you would be here. I need you today." Her voice sounded distracted, like she was already mentally somewhere else. "I know, honey, but Madison is in such a state. You understand how sensitive she is. She really needs her mother right now." The irony was not lost on me. I was about to get married, one of the most significant transitions in a woman's life, and somehow Madison's job interview anxiety took precedence. I hung up feeling hurt, but still holding on to hope that at least they would make it to the actual ceremony. By 11 in the morning, just 1 hour before my ceremony was scheduled to begin, I was getting increasingly worried about my family's absence. Tyler's family had arrived early, his mother helping me with last-minute touches, while his sister arranged my bouquet. They kept asking where my parents were, and I found myself making increasingly elaborate excuses. "They're just running a bit late," I said with a forced smile, checking my phone obsessively for any updates. Finally, I decided to call Dad directly. Maybe he could give me a straight answer about when they would arrive. His voice sounded uncomfortable when he answered, like he had been dreading this call. "Hi, sweetheart, how are you feeling?" There was background noise that sounded distinctly like a restaurant. "Dad, where are you? The ceremony starts in an hour." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. "Well, honey, I am actually at a restaurant with your mother and Madison." My heart sank as the pieces started falling into place. "What do you mean you're at a restaurant? What about my wedding?" Dad's voice became even more awkward as he explained that Madison had apparently aced her job interview that morning and wanted to celebrate immediately. Mom had decided that this achievement deserved an impromptu celebration lunch at one of the city's most expensive restaurants. "I am going to try my best to make it to your reception, sweetheart. You understand that Madison is just so excited about this opportunity, right?" The ceremony proceeded without them. I walked down the aisle to a beautiful arrangement of flowers, Tyler waiting for me with tears in his eyes, and rows of guests smiling warmly at us. But the section reserved for my immediate family remained painfully empty. Tyler's relatives filled both sides of the aisle, creating an obvious imbalance that everyone noticed. I could feel the pitying looks from some guests who knew my family situation. Others seemed confused, whispering among themselves about where my parents could be. Tyler held my hand tighter during our vows, sensing my emotional struggle. His mother kept glancing at the empty seats with a mixture of sadness and anger. I had confided in her about my family dynamics over the months of planning, and she had hoped they would rise to the occasion for my wedding day. Instead, she was witnessing exactly the kind of treatment I had described. During the reception, Tyler's father made a heartfelt speech about gaining a daughter, while the absence of my own father's traditional remarks hung heavy in the air. The most painful moment came when I checked my phone during dinner and found Madison's Instagram post. She had uploaded multiple photos from their celebration lunch at an upscale steakhouse downtown. The images showed my parents beaming with pride, raising champagne glasses in a toast to Madison's success. Mom was wearing the dress she had originally planned to wear to my wedding. Dad looked more animated and joyful than I had seen him in months. The caption read, "Best family celebration ever. So grateful for my supportive parents who dropped everything to celebrate this amazing day with me." Friends and extended relatives started commenting on the post, clearly confused about the timing. Some asked if they had missed something about my wedding being postponed. Others expressed concern about why my parents were not at my ceremony. The humiliation was overwhelming. Not only had my parents chosen Madison's job celebration over my wedding, but they were publicly broadcasting their choice to our entire social circle. When Mom finally called that evening around 9 p.m., her voice was cheerful and completely oblivious to the magnitude of what had happened. "Hi, honey. How was the wedding? I hope everything went smoothly." She sounded slightly tipsy from their extended celebration lunch. Without any acknowledgement of her absence, she launched into a detailed recap of Madison's interview and their impromptu party. Madison was absolutely brilliant in her interview. The hiring manager was so impressed that they offered her the position on the spot. We just had to celebrate properly. When I tried to express how hurt I was by their absence, Mom's tone shifted to irritation. "Sabrina, please do not be selfish about this. Today was Madison's day too, and she needed our support. You had Tyler's family there, so it is not like you were alone." The casual dismissal of my feelings was the final blow. I had spent 28 years hoping that someday I would be the priority, that my important moments would matter as much as Madison's daily dramas. But even my wedding day could not compete with my sister's job celebration lunch. The week following my wedding felt surreal. While most newlyweds receive calls from family asking about their honeymoon plans or commenting on wedding photos, my family seemed to have completely forgotten that my wedding had even happened. Instead, Mom called daily to update me on Madison's first week at her new job. "She is doing so well already." Her boss complimented her presentation style on just her second day. Not once did she ask to see wedding photos or inquire about how Tyler and I were adjusting to married life. When I finally gathered the courage to share some of our professional wedding photos in our family group chat, the response was lukewarm at best. Mom responded with a single heart emoji before immediately shifting the conversation to ask if anyone had seen Madison's latest LinkedIn post about her career achievements. Dad's only comment was asking how much money we had received in wedding gifts, which felt like a slap in the face given his constant complaints about wedding expenses. The most infuriating moment came when Madison posted her own wedding-related content on social media. She uploaded photos from a recent dress shopping trip with friends trying on elaborate white gowns, despite not even being in a serious relationship. Her caption read, "Cannot wait for my turn. When I get married, it is going to be absolutely magical." The post received dozens of enthusiastic comments from family, friends, and relatives, including effusive responses from our parents about how beautiful she would look as a bride. 2 weeks after my wedding, we faced another family occasion that would prove to be the final breaking point. It was Mom's 55th birthday, and I had carefully planned what I thought would be a meaningful celebration. I had purchased an expensive designer handbag that I knew she had been admiring for months, along with making reservations at her favorite Italian restaurant for a quiet family dinner. I imagined it would be an opportunity to reconnect and perhaps discuss what had happened at my wedding. When Tyler and I arrived at the restaurant, we were shocked to discover that Madison had organized a surprise party in the private dining room. The space was decorated with elegant balloons and flowers, with at least 30 family friends and relatives in attendance. Madison had clearly spent considerable time and money creating an impressive celebration that made my planned dinner look modest by comparison. The most stunning revelation was Madison's gift announcement she was treating our parents to a 3-week European vacation, complete with first-class flights and luxury accommodations. Mom was absolutely ecstatic about the surprise, gushing to everyone about Madison's thoughtfulness and generosity. When I presented my carefully chosen handbag, Mom accepted it with a polite smile before quickly returning her attention to the vacation itinerary Madison had prepared. "Look at this beautiful hotel in Paris that Madison selected. She has such exquisite taste in everything." The contrast between her lukewarm response to my gift and her over-the-top excitement about Madison's present was painful to witness. As the evening progressed, the details of their planned European adventure became clear. Madison would be joining them for the entire trip, turning it into a romantic getaway for 3. When I asked casually if Tyler and I were included in the plans, Mom looked genuinely confused by the question. "Oh, sweetheart, this is really more of a small family trip. Besides, you two are newlyweds and probably want to focus on settling into married life." The irony was obvious to everyone except her. Madison, who was 25 and single, was considered essential family for a European vacation, while I was excluded because I had just gotten married. That night, Tyler and I had the most serious conversation of our relationship about my family situation. He had been incredibly patient and supportive throughout our dating and engagement, but watching my parents treat me as an afterthought was becoming unbearable for him too. "I cannot stand watching them hurt you like this anymore," he said, his voice filled with frustration. "You deserve so much better than the way they treat you." For the first time, I allowed myself to seriously consider the possibility of creating distance from my family. I spent the next few days crafting a carefully worded email that laid out everything I had been feeling for years. The message was not written in anger, but rather as a clear explanation of how their consistent favoritism had affected me and my relationship with them. I detailed specific instances from childhood through my recent wedding, where Madison's needs had been prioritized over mine. I explained how their absence from my wedding had been the culmination of a lifetime of feeling like a secondary consideration in my own family. The email concluded with a boundary that I had never been brave enough to set. Before, I would not be attending any family gatherings or maintaining regular contact until I received genuine acknowledgement of how I had been treated and a sincere commitment to change. I blocked their phone numbers and social media accounts temporarily, knowing that I needed space to heal from years of emotional neglect. For the first time in my adult life, I was prioritizing my own emotional well-being over keeping the peace in my family. The initial response from my family was exactly what I had expected. Dad called Tyler's phone when he could not reach me directly, demanding to know why I was being so ungrateful and dramatic. He accused me of trying to manipulate the family and suggested that I was jealous of Madison's success. Mom sent messages through relatives claiming that I was overreacting to normal family dynamics and that every family has favorites without it meaning anything harmful. Madison's reaction was the most telling of all. She posted on social media about toxic family members who cannot handle other people's happiness, and siblings who try to make everything about themselves. While she never mentioned me by name, the timing and content made her target obvious to anyone paying attention. She genuinely seemed unable to understand why I might be upset about the pattern of treatment I had endured for years. However, not everyone in the extended family shared their perspective. My grandmother, Dad's mother, called Tyler's phone to speak with me and offered surprising support. "Sweetheart, I have been watching this unfairness for years and wondering when you would finally stand up for yourself. Your parents have been blind to how differently they treat you girls, and maybe this will help them see it clearly." Several cousins and aunts reached out privately to share their own observations about the favoritism they had witnessed at family gatherings. The first 6 months of limited contact were emotionally challenging. Holiday seasons felt especially difficult as I had to resist the ingrained habit of prioritizing family obligations over my own peace of mind. Tyler's family stepped up beautifully during this period, including us in their traditions, and making sure we never felt alone during important celebrations. His parents had witnessed firsthand how my family treated me, and they made a conscious effort to show me what healthy family dynamics looked like. During this time, I started seeing a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and boundary setting. Through our sessions, I began to understand that my desire for my parents' approval and equal treatment was normal and healthy, not selfish as I had been made to feel. I learned techniques for maintaining emotional boundaries and recognizing when relationships were serving my growth versus draining my energy. Most importantly, I started building a chosen family of close friends and Tyler's relatives who valued and supported me consistently. My career flourished during this period of reduced family drama. Without the constant emotional drain of managing my family's dysfunction, I had more energy to invest in professional development and personal goals. Tyler and I began planning to start our own family, focusing our energy on creating the kind of loving, equitable household that we both wanted for our future children. We bought a beautiful house and started dreaming about the family traditions we would establish. About a year after I had sent my boundary-setting email, Dad surprised me by calling and asking if we could meet for coffee alone. His voice sounded humbler than I had ever heard it before. When we sat down together, he told me that my grandmother and several other relatives had spent months helping him understand how differently he and Mom had treated Madison and me. I never realized how obvious it was to everyone else. He admitted, his eyes watery with genuine remorse. Dad acknowledged specific instances where I had been overlooked or treated unfairly, including their absence from my wedding. He explained that Mom was still struggling to see the situation clearly, but he had come to understand that their behavior had been damaging to our relationship and my self-esteem. While he could not undo the years of favoritism, he wanted to start rebuilding our relationship with a commitment to treating me with the respect and consideration I deserved. I agreed to slowly rebuild our relationship, but with clear conditions about how I expected to be treated going forward. Madison and I remained largely estranged, as she continued to view my boundary setting as an attack on her rather than an attempt to create healthier family dynamics. Mom occasionally reached out through Dad, but she had not yet reached the point of taking genuine responsibility for her role in the family dysfunction. The most important lesson I learned through this experience was that family is not just about blood relationships, but about the people who consistently show up for you with love and support. Tyler's family became my real family in many ways, demonstrating the kind of unconditional love and celebration that I had always craved from my parents. My close friends rallied around me during difficult moments, proving that chosen family can be just as meaningful as biological family. I also discovered that demanding respect and equal treatment is not selfish or ungrateful, but rather a necessary part of maintaining healthy relationships. For years I had accepted crumbs of attention and affection because I was afraid of losing my family entirely. But learning to value myself enough to walk away from harmful dynamics actually opened the door to more authentic connections with the people who truly cared about my well-being. Most significantly, I realized that my self-worth could not depend on whether my parents finally learned to value me equally. While I hoped for healing in our relationships, my happiness and sense of value had to come from within, and from the people who consistently treated me with love and respect. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to step away from relationships that consistently diminish your worth, even when those relationships are with family members. I still feel sadness about the fact that my family could not be the source of unconditional love and support that every child deserves. But I have built a life surrounded by people who celebrate my achievements, show up for my important moments, and treat me as a valued and essential part of their lives. And that ultimately is what matters most. What would you do if your family consistently prioritized your sibling over you, even during the most important moments of your life? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who treated you unfairly? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family dynamics and finding your own strength. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear that they deserve better treatment from the people who claim to love them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that you have the power to surround yourself with people who truly value you.